My family locked me in a burning house and drove away. Now I'm alive and they're all facing murder charges they can't escape. If you're here with me right now, subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. It helps me feel like we're all in this together. I should have known something was wrong when Mama asked me to come home for a family dinner, after 3 years of silence. My name is Bianca Reed and I'm 28 years old. The last time I'd seen my family was at my grandmother's funeral when my older brother Percy sneered, "You think you're better than us now with your college degree?" I didn't think I was better. I just wanted different. But when Mama called crying saying Grandma Rose left me something special in her will, my heart softened. Stupid, stupid heart. I drove 6 hours from Atlanta to our small town of Pinewood, North Carolina, my Honda Civic struggling up those familiar mountain roads. The house looked the same. Peeling white paint, sagging porch, Percy's truck in the driveway next to my stepfather Jerome's Escalade. That should have been my first warning. Jerome never came to family dinners. He barely acknowledged I existed after he married Mama when I was 12. Inside the air felt thick, suffocating. Mama stood at the stove, her back rigid. Percy sat at the table with his wife Shanice, both wearing expressions I couldn't read. My younger sister Imani was absent, which was strange. She always came to family dinners. "Where's Imani?" I asked. Mama didn't turn around. "She couldn't make it." "Sit down, Bianca. We need to talk about your grandmother's will." Jerome emerged from the hallway and the way he looked at me made my skin crawl. Like I was already dead. "Grandma Rose left you the house," Mama said flatly, still not facing me. "The house." I repeated, confused. "What house?" Percy slammed his hand on the table. "Don't play stupid, Bianca. The Riverside property. The one worth $340,000. The one that should have gone to all of us, not just your ungrateful ass." My mouth went dry. Grandma Rose owned property on the Riverside? That was prime real estate where developers were buying everything for luxury condos. Shanice leaned forward, her voice syrupy. "We're family, Bianca. We should share it equally. Sign the papers and we can all benefit." She pushed a manila folder across the table. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were documents transferring full ownership to Percy. "You want me to just give it away?" I asked, my voice cracking. Jerome stepped closer, looming over me. "Your grandmother was losing her mind at the end. She didn't know what she was doing. This property should stay in the family, not go to some girl who abandoned us for her fancy education." "I didn't abandon anyone," I said, standing up. "I went to college. I came back for every holiday until you all made it clear I wasn't welcome." Mama finally turned around and I barely recognized her. Her eyes were cold, calculating. "You were always Grandma's favorite. She filled your head with nonsense about being special, about deserving more. Well, you don't deserve more than your own blood." The words hit me like a physical blow. "I'm your daughter," I whispered. "And Percy is my son," Mama shot back. "My firstborn who stayed, who struggled, who never got the opportunities you got." I should have left right then. Looking back, every instinct in my body screamed danger, but I was still trying to make them understand. "I'll think about it," I said, reaching for my purse. "No," Jerome said, blocking the doorway. "You'll decide now." The temperature in the room dropped. Percy stood up and I noticed for the first time how much bigger he'd gotten. Prison bulk, I realized. He'd done 2 years for assault and got out last month. "Let me leave," I said firmly. "Or what?" Shanice laughed. "You'll call the police? Tell them your family asked you to share an inheritance? They'll laugh at you." My phone was in my hand, but Percy moved fast, snatching it from my grip. "You're not going anywhere until we settle this." He pocketed my phone and nodded to Jerome. "Take her downstairs. Let her cool off and think about family loyalty." The basement. God, I hated that basement. When I was 15, Jerome locked me down there for 2 days after I told Mama he'd tried to touch me. She didn't believe me. Called me a liar seeking attention. The memory made my legs weak as Jerome grabbed my arm, his fingers digging into my flesh. Please, I begged, hating how small my voice sounded. Don't do this. Mama turned back to the stove like nothing was happening. That broke something in me. Not the fear, not the betrayal, the indifference. Her own daughter being dragged to a basement and she just stirred her pot of greens. The basement stairs creaked under our weight. It smelled like mildew and old mistakes. Jerome threw me inside and I stumbled, catching myself on the concrete wall. Mama! I screamed up the stairs. Please. The door slammed shut. The lock clicked. And I was alone in the dark with nothing but my racing thoughts and the sound of footsteps above my head. I don't know how long I sat there in the pitch-black basement before I heard them. The old heating vents carried voices from the kitchen directly down to where I was trapped. At first it was just mumbling, but then Percy's voice came through clear as day. We can't just keep her down there forever. She's going to make this difficult. My blood turned to ice. I already told you the plan, Jerome said. We make it look like an accident. The house has faulty wiring. Everyone knows that. A fire starts, tragic accident, and by the time anyone finds her, the papers are signed. I couldn't breathe. They were talking about killing me. My own family was planning to murder me for a piece of property. What about the signature? Shanice asked. We have her phone, Percy replied. I can text her lawyer from it, say she's thinking it over. Then after it happens, we find the signed papers. Who's going to question a dead woman's last wishes? Mama's voice joined in, and hearing her agree was like being stabbed. Rose should have never done this to us. Putting Bianca above her own family. This is her fault. No, I thought, my nails digging into my palms. This is your fault. You chose this. You chose money over your daughter. The conversation continued, detailing their plan. They'd start the fire around midnight when I'd presumably be asleep. Jerome knew exactly where the gas line ran in the basement. Percy had already bought accelerant from a store 2 towns over, paying cash. I felt my way along the walls in the darkness, searching for anything. A window, a loose board, a weapon. My fingers found the small rectangular window near the ceiling, painted shut and covered with wire mesh from the outside. I was trapped. Completely trapped. And in 6 hours my family was going to burn me alive. Then I heard a sound that changed everything. The basement door creaked open and light flooded down the stairs. I pressed myself against the wall, terrified Jerome was coming back. But the footsteps were lighter, hesitant. Bianca. Imani's whispered voice made me want to cry. My baby sister. 22 years old, always caught between keeping peace and doing right. Imani, thank God, I breathed. You have to help me. They're going to... I know, she interrupted, coming down the stairs. Her face was streaked with tears. I heard everything. She pressed something cold into my hand. My phone. Percy left it on the counter. I grabbed it when he went outside. I wanted to hug her, but she was shaking so badly I was afraid she'd collapse. Why didn't Mama stop them? I asked, even though I knew the answer. Imani's voice broke. Percy has been paying her rent for 2 years. She lost her job and Jerome's disability isn't enough. That Riverside property? Percy already has buyers lined up. He promised Mama $100,000 if she stayed quiet. She chose the money, Bianca. She chose him over both of us. The betrayal cut deeper knowing the exact price of my mother's love. $100,000. That's what I was worth to her. What do? I asked. The doors locked from the outside and they took the key. Imani pulled a screwdriver from her pocket. Jerome keeps the fuse box down here. If you can short out the lights upstairs, create a distraction, maybe you can run when they come to check it. It was a terrible plan. But it was the only plan we had. What about you? I asked. If they find out you helped me, I'm already dead to them if they do this to you, Imani said fiercely. I won't be part of a family that murders their own. We didn't get the chance to execute Imani's plan. 10 minutes after she left, I smelled smoke. Thick, acrid, unmistakable smoke seeping under the basement door. They'd started the fire early. Those bastards weren't even waiting until midnight. They wanted me awake. They wanted me to know what was happening. I screamed, pounding on the door until my fists bled. Help! Fire! Someone help me! The smoke was getting thicker, choking me. I could hear crackling above, the hungry sound of flames consuming wood. Then I heard the worst sound of all, the Escalade's engine starting. They were leaving. They were actually leaving me here to die. I threw myself at the door again and again, my shoulders screaming in protest. The window was too small, too high, too reinforced. I was going to die in this basement just like Jerome planned. Except I wasn't sleeping. I was wide awake, experiencing every terrifying second. The smoke alarm shrieked upstairs, a mocking sound since no one was coming to help. My lungs burned. I dropped to the floor where the air was slightly clearer, army crawling toward the far corner where I remembered seeing old storage boxes. Maybe there was something, anything I could use. My hands found metal. A crowbar. Grandma Rose's old crowbar from when she used to help me and Imani build things in the garage. I grabbed it and stumbled back to the door. The heat was intense now. I could feel it radiating through the wood. My eyes streamed tears and I couldn't stop coughing, but I wedged that crowbar into the door frame and pulled with everything I had. The wood splintered. The door shook. I pulled again, screaming with effort, and the lock plate ripped free from the frame. The door burst open and I fell forward into an inferno. The house was an inferno. Flames covered the walls, racing across the ceiling like liquid rage. The heat hit me like a physical force, stealing what little breath I had left. I couldn't see through the smoke. Couldn't think. Could only move forward on pure survival instinct. The kitchen was to my left, completely engulfed. The front door was straight ahead, but the living room furniture created a maze of fire between me and freedom. I pulled my shirt over my mouth and ran. A burning beam crashed down behind me, missing me by inches. The heat blistered my exposed skin. My hair was singed. I couldn't hear anything over the roar of the flames and the screaming of the smoke alarms. The front door looked miles away through the inferno, but I kept moving. Had to keep moving. My family had left me to die, but I refused to give them the satisfaction. I hit the front door hard, my burnt hands fumbling with the lock. It was stuck. No, not stuck, blocked. They'd put a chain on it. Those monsters had chained the door shut from the outside. I screamed in frustration and rage, yanking at the chain until my fingers bled. The fire was closing in, consuming oxygen, consuming the house, consuming everything. I was going to die here. After everything, I was actually going to die. Then I remembered the back door. Through the kitchen. Through the worst of the fire. It was suicide, but staying here was death. I wrapped my arms around my head and charged into the kitchen. The flames licked at my clothes. Something exploded. Maybe the stove, maybe a gas line. The blast threw me forward and I crashed through the back door onto the porch. I rolled down the steps, patting out flames on my jeans, gasping in the cool night air. I lay in the grass, coughing up black phlegm, my entire body screaming in pain. The house behind me was fully engulfed, lighting up the night sky. I needed to move. Needed to get help. But my phone was still in my pocket, miraculously intact. With shaking, burnt fingers, I pulled it out and dialed 911. Help, I rasped into the phone. Fire. 4782 Oak Street. They tried to kill me. My family tried to kill me. The dispatcher's voice was calm, professional. Ma'am, are you safe now? Are you away from the fire? Yes, but they're getting away. They locked me in and started the fire. You have to stop them. I gave her everything. Names, vehicle descriptions, the direction they'd gone. Then I did something my family never expected. I opened my phone's voice recorder app. The one that had been running in my pocket since Imani gave it back to me. The one that had recorded everything they'd said before the fire. Percy discussing the plan. Jerome detailing how to make it look accidental. Mama agreeing to it all. Every damning word captured in crystal clear audio. I immediately uploaded it to my cloud storage, sent copies to 3 different email addresses, and texted it to my best friend in Atlanta with the message. If something happens to me, give this to the police. Sirens wailed in the distance. I crawled further from the burning house toward the road where I could be seen. Every movement was agony. My hands were blistered, my lungs felt shredded, and I was pretty sure I had second-degree burns on my arms and legs. But I was alive. Against all their planning, against all their attempts, I was alive. The fire trucks arrived first, then the ambulance. A paramedic rushed over to me and I grabbed his arm with my ruined hand. Don't let them say it was an accident, I croaked. They tried to murder me. 3 days in the ICU gave me plenty of time to think. The burns were bad, but not as bad as they could have been. Second degree on 15% of my body. Smoke inhalation, bruised ribs from throwing myself at the door. The doctor said I was lucky. Lucky. I'd been locked in a burning building by my own mother and they called it luck. But I was alive and that had to count for something. Detective Sharon Williams came on day 2. She was a black woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. Miss Reed, I need to ask you some questions about the fire. I told her everything. About the will, the inheritance, the basement, the plan I'd overheard. Then I played her the recording. Her expression changed with every word, from professional interest to barely contained fury. This is substantial evidence, she said quietly. But you should know. Your family is claiming you started the fire yourself. My blood ran cold. What? They said you were upset about the will situation and made threats. That you were in the basement because you were drunk and unstable. They're painting you as mentally ill, Bianca. They reported you as missing and presumed dead in the fire. The audacity of it. They tried to kill me and now they were making me the villain. I have the recording, I said through gritted teeth. They confessed to planning my murder. Detective Williams nodded. I believe you. But I need to build an airtight case. Your brother Percy has an alibi. He claims he left hours before the fire started. Your mother is saying the same. Jerome says he was at a bar. They've coordinated their stories. But the recording proves they discussed it. Doesn't prove they did it without reasonable doubt. Unless we can tie them physically to the scene. I wanted to scream. Wanted to cry. Instead I asked, what about Imani? My sister. He helped me. She knows the truth. Detective Williams's expression softened. Imani gave a statement. She confirmed your story. But she's also being pressured by the family to recant. They're calling her a traitor, threatening to cut her off. She's vulnerable, Bianca. I'm worried about what they might do to her. 24 hours later, everything changed. The fire marshal's report came back and it was damning. The fire had started in multiple locations simultaneously. The basement near the gas line, the kitchen, and the living room. All 3 ignition points showed evidence of accelerant. Gasoline. The same gasoline Percy had bought from a store in Hickory 2 days before the fire. The clerk identified him from security footage. They also found the chain on the front door, melted but intact. No one chains a door from the outside unless they're trying to trap someone inside. Detective Williams called me at the hospital. We arrested Percy, Jerome, and Shanice this morning. Your mother is being questioned. I couldn't speak. Couldn't process the words. We found the accelerant container in Jerome's truck, still with residue. And Percy's phone records show he was still at the house when the fire started, despite his alibi. They got sloppy, Bianca. They thought you'd be dead and couldn't testify. What are the charges? I asked, my voice hollow. Attempted murder, arson, conspiracy to commit murder, and kidnapping. The DA is pushing for maximum sentences. You were locked in that basement against your will, and they deliberately set fire to the house while you were trapped. That's attempted capital murder in North Carolina. My family was facing life in prison. The family that raised me, that I'd loved despite everything, was going to prison for trying to kill me. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt empty. What about my mother? Detective Williams was quiet for a moment. Your mother is cooperating. She's giving testimony against Percy and Jerome in exchange for a reduced sentence. She claims she didn't know they'd moved up the timeline, that she thought they were just going to scare you into signing the papers. That's a lie, I said flatly. I heard her voice on the recording. She knew. I know, Detective Williams agreed. But she's playing the abused woman manipulated by her son and husband card. The DA might take the deal because her testimony is crucial. The betrayal somehow hurt worse than the fire. Even now, even after everything, Mama was trying to save herself at everyone else's expense. She'd throw Percy and Jerome under the bus to avoid prison, even though she'd been part of the plan from the beginning. 4 months later, I sat in a courtroom facing the people who tried to murder me. Percy looked angry, his jaw clenched as he glared at me from the defendant's table. Jerome looked defeated, older somehow. Shanice cried constantly, dabbing at her eyes with tissues like she was the victim. And Mama sat in the witness stand testifying against them. Percy was obsessed with the inheritance, she told the prosecutor. He said Bianca didn't deserve it, that Grandma Rose had been manipulated. Jerome agreed. They said they'd just scare her, make her understand family comes first. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Rebecca Parker, pressed forward. Mrs. Reed, did you know they planned to lock your daughter in the basement? Mama hesitated. I knew she needed time to think. Did you know they planned to start a fire? Mama's voice dropped to a whisper. I didn't think they'd actually do it. I thought it was just talk. But you heard them discussing it. Yes. And you didn't warn your daughter? I was scared. Jerome had threatened me before. Percy can be violent. It was masterful, really. The way she painted herself as another victim. When it was my turn to testify, I walked to the stand with my head high despite my scarred hands and the burn marks still visible on my arms. I told the truth. All of it. The basement, the plan I'd overheard, the recording, the fire, the chained door. I played the audio recording for the jury. You could hear a pin drop as Percy's voice filled the courtroom. We make it look like an accident. The house has faulty wiring. A fire starts, tragic accident. Jerome's voice. I already told you the plan. Everyone knows about the faulty wiring. By the time anyone finds her, the papers are signed. And then Mama's voice, the one that made several jury members flinch. Rose should have never done this to us. Putting Bianca above her own family. This is her fault. When it finished playing, I looked directly at Percy. You locked me in that basement knowing I'd burn alive. You chained the front door so I couldn't escape. You started that fire while I was screaming for help and then you drove away. My voice broke. I'm your sister. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they came back, the courtroom was packed. Imani sat behind me, her hand gripping mine. She'd held strong through everything, refusing to back down despite the family's threats. The foreman stood. In the case of Percy Reed on the charge of attempted capital murder, we find the defendant guilty. Percy's face went white. On the charge of Jerome Reed, guilty, guilty, guilty on all counts. On the charge of Shanice Reed, guilty as an accessory in conspiracy. Percy got life without parole. Jerome got 35 years. Shanice got 15. Mama with her cooperation deal got 10 years. The judge looked at them with barely concealed disgust as he delivered the sentences. You targeted a family member, planned her death in detail, and executed that plan with chilling precision. The only reason we're not trying you for murder is because of Miss Reed's extraordinary will to survive. You don't deserve the mercy of these sentences. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. I'd become a national story, the woman who survived her family's murder plot. How do you feel now that justice has been served? Someone asked. How did I feel? Hollow. Vindicated. Angry. Relieved. Broken. Free. All of it at once. I feel like I survived, I said into the cameras. They tried to take everything from me, my inheritance, my life, my sense of family. But I'm still here. I'm still standing. And they're the ones locked up now, not me. The Riverside property was legally mine. I sold it 2 months later for $340,000. I gave Imani half, bought myself a condo in Atlanta, and used the rest to start a nonprofit helping abuse survivors escape dangerous family situations. I called it Rose's House after the grandmother who saw something in me worth saving. I attend therapy twice a week. The nightmares still come. Flames, locked doors, my mother's cold voice. But they're getting better. Quieter. I'm getting better. Stronger. Imani moved to Atlanta to work with me at Rose's House. We're healing together, building the family we should have had. We don't visit the others in prison. We don't accept their calls or letters. Percy has never apologized. Jerome claims he was drunk and doesn't remember. Shanice begs for forgiveness she'll never receive. And Mama? Mama writes every week, playing the victim, asking when I'll visit, saying she loves me. I burn the letters unread. 2 years after the fire, I'm standing in front of a crowd of domestic abuse survivors, telling my story. The burn scars on my arms are visible under my short sleeves, and I don't hide them anymore. They're proof of what I survived. People think family means everything, I say. That blood is thicker than water. But the truth is, some people will destroy you for money, for pride, for convenience. And when they're family, it hurts worse because you keep thinking, how could they? We're supposed to love each other. The crowd is silent, hanging on every word. My mother chose $100,000 over my life. My brother chose property over his sister. They locked me in a burning building and drove away. But here's what they didn't count on. I'm stronger than their greed. I'm more resilient than their cruelty. I survived, and now I'm helping others survive too. After the speech, a young woman approaches me. She's maybe 19 with bruises she's tried to cover with makeup. My family, she whispers. They're not trying to kill me, but they're hurting me. How did you find the strength to leave? I take her hands gently. You find it one moment at a time. One breath, one step, one decision to choose yourself over their dysfunction. It's not easy. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. But staying is harder. Staying will kill you, maybe not with fire, but with 1,000 small deaths until there's nothing left of who you really are. She nods, tears streaming down her face. I give her a card for Rose's House, and I watch her walk away a little straighter than when she arrived. This is my purpose now. This is what I was meant to survive for. Sometimes I drive past the lot where my childhood home used to be. It's empty now, just scorched earth and memories. The county condemned it after the fire, and no one wanted to rebuild on the land where attempted murder happened. I should hate that place. But standing there I feel something different. Power. I walked out of that fire. I walked out of that family. And I'm never going back. They're locked away and I'm free. They tried to write my ending but I wrote my own instead. And this is just the beginning. Sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the one you're born into. And sometimes surviving means leaving them behind in the ashes.